Let's go to this other issue, the big tax hike on its way. Jobs will be hit, an industry is under pressure, and thousands of Victorian families are set to be slugged by increases to stamp duty and land tax after the Treasurer Tim Pallas announced a $2.5 billion tax grab to fund all their incompetence and overspending ahead of Thursday's Victorian state budget. In a move labelled as a knockout blow by the industry, the Andrews government will hike land tax for properties between $1.8 million and $3 million by a whopping 19%, while properties valued over $3 million will be subject to a 13% increase. For more on this, I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Property Council of Australia in Victoria, Danni Hunter. Danni, some will say that this is a real soak the rich measure, and it's true, this is absolutely what it is, but it won't hit average Victorians. You say that's short-sighted. Tell us why.
Good evening, Peter. There is no doubt in our minds that this is a tax on Victorian families, a tax on Victorian jobs and a tax on Victorian investment. In so many ways, this tax will hit families, will hit workers, will hit investment and new projects through the land tax hikes, the stamp duty increases, and also the new tax on investment that the government has introduced under the guise of a windfall gain tax, when really all this is a tax on Victoria's recovery. Our industry employs 1 in 4 Victorians. That's over 300,000 Victorians who work in the property industry. There are 70,000 homes that the new increased stamp duty rates could apply to. That is so many Victorian workers, so many Victorian households that will be impacted by these tax hikes.
And because you're at the front line, property's at the front line, as you just said there, 1 in every 4 jobs are in this sector in Victoria. And the Victorian economy is just so much more sluggish than the rest of the country. What's been the feedback to your industry bodies over the last couple of days since this broke on the weekend?
Well, Victoria's unemployment rate is still at 6.1%. So our economic recovery is very fragile. We have certainly made some very, very encouraging moves forward, and that comes off the back of the longest lockdown in the country. So Victorians have worked incredibly hard for what we've been able to gain over the past couple of months, and our deep and grave concern now is that that is all going to be at risk with these tax hikes, and that the Andrews government is taking a very irresponsible approach to the economic rebuild and actually putting it all at risk.
Yeah, I made the point on the program last week that almost 70% of Australians who negative gear have investment property are on average earnings. Now, average earnings in Australia are about $88,000, $89,000 per annum. So it's very much mum and dad average. We're not talking about the high income earners here. What impact will these changes have on ordinary Victorians trying to get ahead or even get into the property market, Danni?
Well, these changes will absolutely flow through to higher house prices. They'll also flow through as an impact on commercial rents. You'll pay more for the price of your haircut, you'll pay more for the price of your coffee, and you'll pay more to pay, to go and see your tax agent, because the services and the products that they provide and produce will have to be charged at a higher rate because they'll inevitably be paying higher rent and higher land tax. Now, that's significant concern, not only through the housing sector, but also through small businesses and the commercial sector. And that really does undermine the capacity for Victorian's economy to keep growing beyond this pandemic, and also the ability of the property industry that does employ 1 in 4 Victorians to continue to invest in new projects in our urban areas and also our regional centres where we want growth, where we want things like affordable housing and new infrastructure and services to support the way our city evolves. All of those projects and the viability of that investment is under a massive dark cloud now. I mean, the government wants to take 50% of the value of land rezonings in our urban areas and regional areas. What does that mean for new housing in Bendigo? What does that mean for new industrial centres to fuel our booming online economy in Dandenong? These are the questions that we are coming back to the government with now, with evidence from the Property Council, from the Property Council's members and our economic modelling, which will show that these taxes, if they get up in the Parliament, if the government is intent on introducing them as part of the budget bill, they will have a detrimental impact on Victoria's economic growth.
And of course, very little consultation, no consultation from the announcement that was leaked to the papers on Saturday as ahead of the state budget we know is on Thursday. We'll keep up the fight, Danni. We'll watch this closely, and you're very welcome back here on Credlin.
Thank you.
It's Danni Hunter from the Property Council of Australia, but the Victorian head here in Victoria, obviously.